Okay, Swami, I have started the recording.
Okay. Okay. So, hi everyone. Good morning. First of all, thank you so much, Pune Tech Community and MP65 Development Group for organizing this event. So, today's session is a part of a special celebration of 25 years of SharePoint, which have been the heart of our workplace collaboration, which powering the internet, document management, and knowledge sharing across the organization. So from classic SharePoint to modern SharePoint Online, SharePoint has evolved a lot. And interestingly, SharePoint turns 25 this year, and I turned 26 yesterday. So I guess I have the grown up almost alongside with SharePoint. So first of all, congratulations to SharePoint for completing 25 years, and maybe a small congratulations to me as well. Since we are celebrating this, I thought it would be interesting to revisit one of the classic feature of SharePoint, which is called auditing, because even after 25 years of evolution, governance is something that is still very important. We almost focus only on the list, libraries, SPFX, Power Automate, permissions as a developer side. But when something goes wrong, let's say if there is some file deleted from the document library, if there are confidential file accessed by someone, right? So the first question will always come to mind like who did it, when did it happen, and can we test it, right? So that is where auditing comes in. And today I'll show you the classic SharePoint site collection feature, how we can enable it, what kind of data we get there, and how we can clean that data using Power Automate. Agenda for this session will be why auditing in SharePoint, why it's matter basically, how we can enable, and the demo. And at the end, we will have a Q&A. But yes, in between, if you have any question, just drop them in a chat and I'll be happy to answer them after this session. So before beginning this session, a quick intro to myself. Myself, Swami Navle. I am based in Pune, Maharashtra. I'm a Microsoft MVP in M365 development, currently working as a senior technical consultant at Binary Roots, where I worked on the SharePoint, Power Platform, and Copilot projects. So that's a bit about me. Now let's move into today's topic. So with the first thing, what is auditing? So when we hear of word auditing, that doesn't only apply to SharePoint, right? So we usually think about governance, taxes, compliances, right? But in auditing, it's a simple term. It is just one thing that to keep the record of each and every action, right? And this doesn't apply to SharePoint only, right? Because we have the banking systems, government system, right? Every action are recorded. So let's say if you transfer money from one account to another account, that is going to be get recorded. Medical records also are going to record it, right? Why? Because see, that is not something that we don't trust people, but because the system needs someone accountability, right? So SharePoint auditing answers specifically very basic questions. I say these are four W's. First is who did it, what did, when did they do it, and where did this happen, right? And when we move to the traditional software system, the same principle applies, right? Because in every database, we maintain logs. In every APIs, we have the logs, right? So as a developer, we mostly focus on building the features, right? But under the hood, every system needs this kind of traceability somewhere, right? So coming to SharePoint, it is no different because SharePoint, we can take an example of we store the sensitive files, right? If there are some sites specifically have access to some kind of leadership team where they have confidential documents such as say legal and HR files, right? Contracts are there. If someone accidentally modifies it, if someone accidentally deletes it, right? We need to know. And that's where SharePoint auditing comes in. So let me give you a real life example. So one of the project I was working the last week had the same situation. So what they have the HR and leadership site. Okay, so yes, is someone saying something?
No, it is
Okay,
accidental unmute of someone. Yeah, please go ahead.
okay. So I was saying one of the customer I was working with had the same situation. So they basically onboarded a few HR team members and they given them access to some document libraries where they have almost 50,000 plus documents. Okay. These documents basically contain some employee personal files. And it has been observed that some of the files were moved from one location to another. It was not deleted, it was just accidentally moved by someone. Okay. So the question comes in who moved that file. And it is really simple if you have a limited number of files. But with 50,000 plus files, it is very difficult to track, right? So the challenges were like who moved them, which files are and from where to where, right? Because we need to get them back to the original locations, correct? So the question is, without auditing, see, you are only guessing these things. Like if you don't have the hard proof that, okay, I have moved this file from this, but you don't have a solid evidence of that. But with auditing, you are answering because you have the complete detail, who moved it, from which location to which location, and the exact time frame. Okay. In auditing SharePoint, they have two types. The first is, this is the classic one that we are going to focus on, where it can be enabled at a site level only, and it generates audit reports inside SharePoint. Obviously, it has some limitation in terms of feature as compared to Microsoft Purview, which has a more detail, more capabilities as compared to the classic one. So what Microsoft 365 Purview does is, it is a tenant-wide login, a centralized and more powerful it is. We get various report formats, and it can be accessed through the compliance center only, through the admin center basically. Okay. Then what events can be audited? So I'm talking about the classic site collection audit setting. Okay. So this is one of the screenshot that I have taken to explain you. We'll be also taking a look at the demo. So first is opening, downloading documents, like very simple, who opened that document, who download that document, right? Who deletes, who edited that document. If someone has moved the documents, whether it's a folder or file from one location to another, that can be a same document library or different document library. Who checked in the document, check out, and if there are any permission changes for that document. These kind of thing get tracks. If any of these thing doesn't satisfy your needs, we have the custom event as well, where you can have this kind of setting. If you have to monitor multiple events, right? So when I say event, I mean these things: editing, moving, copying, and deleting, right? So if you want to track more details, we can have it here. And the main question is, once these report get generated, where are they stored? So these get stored in the SharePoint site, only that site specifically. We can choose the location where we can select a document library. Okay, and these reports are nothing but these are the Excel file reports only. Okay, then we'll move to the demo now to see how to activate this feature, how to generate a report, what kind of data we get, and how we can clean that data properly using Power Automate. So the last step, I will explain you why I'm saying it, because the data we get is in a proper format, but it is a kind of JSON format. Okay, so that's why. So let's move to the demo. I hope you can see my another screen, the SharePoint site that I have shared.
Yes, Swami.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So to replicate that scenario, obviously I cannot do the client environment. So to replicate it, what I did, I created a library called use library, and I have done over 70,000 documents into it, folders, levels, and different folders. So last week I was doing some changes in this document library, like moving it from one location to another, then copying the data, modifying the data, everything. Okay. So to enable this feature, what we have to do, you must have the site collection admin permission here. So we have to go to site contents, the site settings. Then here you see one option, audit log reports. But this option will not there by default. You have to enable a feature for this. So what you have to do, you have to go to this menu, site collection features. If you scroll down, you will see one option called reporting that says create reports information about SharePoint Foundation. I have activated it. You will see one button activate. Once you active, then you can come back to the site settings and you will see this thing, audit log reports. Now, when I click on it, you will see this kind of event that I can audit basically. If I just want to see what contents are being viewed by someone, I can just select this one. Any modification, deletion, right? So these kind of things you. But if I want to track multiple events, right? So what I can do, I can just run a custom report. I can select everything and navigate all the data. The first thing it is asking where you want to store this, right? So when you click on browse, it will open up a pop-up and it will list all the document libraries from here. So I can specify document library like this, and I can click on OK. You can specify date range. So if you, let's say, if you want to track and if you want to get the history of the event by after certain time, so let's say I want to get it after 10 Feb. And if you don't specify any end date, what it will do, it will just track and gather all the events happen after this date. But if you specify both start and end, it will gather all the information in between. This step is optional because if you want to track this for some specific user, we can mention their name. It can be single or multiple user we have. And in the events, you can select multiple here. So let's say if you want to just specifically see the report where you who moved the file, then which files or folder getting deleted, who changed the permissions, right? Who edited the items, right? So once this thing is done, I can just click on OK. And it says operation completed successfully. So that doesn't mean the report is generated at the moment you save it. You have to wait. Although it is saying it will be saved within 6 to 24 hours, but what I observe is it will be appear there based on your data size. Okay. So max 3 hours it took for me to generate it based on the 70,000 files I have in document library. But yes, if not in your case, you must have to wait to this time. So luckily I have these stored. I'll go to site contents. So here you will see the Excel file like this. Okay, there are multiple reports I run before this event. Just wanted to validate some things. So you will see this kind of thing. Every report will have their own timestamp when it is generated. Okay, and let's see what kind of data we get here. So once the report is generated, it will contain two sheets. First is audit data table, and the second is report data. Ignore this file smooth. This is the one that I have created, but you will get two sheets here. Okay, so I'll zoom it. So it will have all the information. Basically, all are the files in the document library. It will have all the files. Then at the top, you will see the events. So there are total 268 events performed, basically, like to updates, view. If there are any security related activity, you can see it here. If you just want to filter it, let's say who copies something, you can just select that particular event, and you can apply. So it has over 50,000, I guess, records, but this will only display you the file name and event, how many events occurred. If you want a more detailed version, you can go in the report data. So what it have, basically, it has the site URL. So this report is specifically for this site. The site ID, item type we have is a document. If you have folder, it will display it here as well. User ID, these actions performed by myself only. So every action will have my own development email ID here. And then we have the document location. It has a complete document location basically. Okay, it is not something that we only get a relative URL, but we get the complete URL of this document. When this event occurred, basically it's a UTC time format we have. And this is the most important thing. So in the event, you will see all the events. So currently I have filtered this only copy event, but yes, if I select all the events, you will see this document gets copied at this time. These documents get updated. If you have deleted or moved event, that will also visible here. Okay. Then the event source will be SharePoint only. And at the last, we have the event data. So this is a JSON thing. So this kind of data we get, right? So this has main things. We have the user ID, source relative and source file name, and destination relative and destination file name. So that means this file get copied or moved from this location to that location. And in the object ID, we have the total URL of that file. Okay. So now when I mention why I created a Power Automate, because when this report I showed to customer, it was very hard to them to go each and every file. So what I did is this JSON schema is almost similar, but only for that specific event. So let's say if I select a event called copy, the JSON schema is same for every record. But if you select multiple, then there are some key changes. There are some value also change. So we have to use it properly if you are building this report to clean the data using automation. So basically what I did is I just filtered the records where I just only want the record to be copied. Okay. Now what I did, I just copy them in a file. Then I created a Power Automate flow. I will show you that flow as well. So once I create that Power Automate flow, I'm using some JSON parsing to get the data and store that data in a new sheet in this format. So that will have the time, user, source file name, destination URL, and the complete URL. So as compared to JSON, this is more clean and more detailed version so that they can directly see, they can directly filter it by the user and see what file they have modified. In the original report, we do get all these things, but we cannot see directly the source and the destination URLs. Okay. So I will show you the Power Automate flow. It is very simple, although it is not the agenda of this video, but yes. Okay. So it is a manual trigger flow because I want to run this for a specific file, let's say. And here, what I was doing, I was just listing out the table from that Excel sheet that is selected records only. Then after that, what I am doing is I am doing the parse JSON for each and every record. So we get this JSON schema from here, right? So we copy everything. We generate a JSON payload from this using this sample schema generator. And then there's a simple action to add this row into the Excel table, right? So once this row gets added in that table, I'm just mapping those parse JSON into the specific fields. Okay. And when I run this flow, so around, I guess, 250 items were there. So it will add like this. Okay. So this is how we can have that kind of data and stored. But again, this is only for the copy event. If you go with the move or delete event, you might not get the destination relative and destination file name. So if we want to build some kind of flow that is really standard, we have to handle that kind of error handling in our Power Automate flow. And when I show them this data, it will be very easy for them. And again, there were a lot of file, but only 50 to 60 files were moved. So they are doing this currently manually. But yes, we can have some kind of automated setup to revert back those site and those files into specific locations. Okay. So yes, this is how we can get the reports. Any questions so far, if anyone? Okay, I think there's one question. Do we have the who changed the list setting? Okay, so in the classic one, we don't have one. For this, we have to go to the compliance Microsoft Purview. So where I will also show you what kind of data we get there. Okay, that was my next topic. So I go to Admin Center. So this was everything about the classic one. Now I will show you the Microsoft Purview, which was already known as the Compliance Center. Just give me a moment. Yes. Here, as you can see, this is the same thing as the auditing, but yes, as you can see, there are lots of new things and lots of features here. So here this can be accessed through only admin center. So if the question might come like, if we access the classic one, who will have access to? Because see, the document and the report that we are generating, we are storing into SharePoint document library. So that library must not have permission to everyone, right? You just have to share that document library with specific users. The reports you see here can be only visible in admin center, and who are the compliance admin can see this thing. But for this, we have the licensing requirement. I will not go that much into the detail, but yes, here we can get it from the date range only. So maximum 90 days, the previous 90 days or 180 days allowed. Then here we can select the activities. Now, the here if we search for the files, so see files and page activities we have. Okay. Now we can see check-in file, checkout file, copied, deleted file, and everything. And if you go to list, we can check what kind of activities we get. So you see SharePoint list activities also we have, like created a list column, created a list content type, right? So I think this answers your questions with that. So this is where you can get those reports. In the users one, we can specify the users as well, right? In the activities, so these are the same one, because you see all these activity will have their own internal names. Okay, you can specify it here by separated by commas. Object ID, that means the location. In our case, that will be a SharePoint site. If you want to track everything, don't mention anything, it will search everything. If you want to do it for a specific sites or folders, you can put their URL directly. Okay. Then once you search it, you will see all the records. It will also take some time. That is not something when you click on search and you will get the record instantly. I have seen some cases where it took almost 4 to 5 hours to generate, where they have the thousands of files, right? And it will generate a CSV file or Excel file. You can see into that. This is a more advanced feature that is for the compliance admin who can access it. Not everyone can go this portal and access this. Okay. So coming back to our slide again. So these are some of the questions, like how long the logs are written. Basically 180 days for standard user. And if we use the premium features, as per the documentation, it says we can have it stored for the 1 year, or we can move and we can increase it to up to 10 years as well. Okay. Then can user delete the log? No, they cannot, because these logs are available in classic one. Those are available for the specific document library, and the users will have access to document library. That means full control of it one. They can delete it, but from the compliance center, not everyone will have access to it, right? And the another question might come, can we automate this? Currently we don't have kind of APIs to automate this. This is the manual feature and manual process that you have to do. And the last one will be like, is classic audit is enough for compliance? So the question is no, because for small scenario, maybe we can use, like if you just want to track which files are deleted, which folders are deleted, like these are the simple cases. We can use it, but if you want more detailed version of it, so obviously the Microsoft Purview is the answer for it, because it has a detailed level of report of it, right? So with that said, this is from my side. I wanted to show you these classic features, right? So yes, now we are open to questions. If you have any. Okay, the first question I see in the chat is, the file is restricted to, means the file will be accessible to that user. Audit data is having that user action. So when I say restricted, once that report gets stored in SharePoint, if user have proper access to that SharePoint library where the report are stored, they can access it basically, if that is your question. Yes, Kunal.
Swami, I wonder if we can generate a report for SharePoint audit such a way that let's say I have a SharePoint agent, I have some Copilot Studio agents, and those agents are accessing data from the SharePoint, right? So, is there any way that we can generate a report where we can find out information which agent is accessing which files and how many times? That kind of report it is possible?
So you're saying a Copilot can, when Copilot is accessing those file, you want to get it, right? Not users.
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So I have a Copilot Studio agent, okay, and few users are developed M365 agent and integrated with the SharePoint, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
they are accessing the SharePoint resources, right? So is there any way that we can generate this kind of report? So how many users are using the Copilot Studio integrated with the SharePoint? Let's say tomorrow I have a Lizer kind of platform, which are a third-party application, and they are accessing my SharePoint resources through Graph API. So is there any way we can generate this kind of audit report?
I think for Copilot, we can have that some kind of dashboarding agents. I'm not having that much exposure, but yes, but specifically about SharePoint and these actions, I have to cross-check this once, whether it's any
Okay,
kind of activities that specifically says Copilot, users using Copilot are accessing the files. So I have to
right.
check. Yes, I
Okay,
surely
yeah.
will respond to you.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, we are already connected on LinkedIn. I'll ping you there.
Yeah,
No worries.
sure,
Thanks.
sure. Thank you.
Swami, one question I have is the preview which you shown, right, from the preview portal. Is it,
Hmm.
uh, does it need an added licensing or any premium plan or something, or it is
It
available?
It requires e-file licensing. As per documentation, it says e-file licensing and the M365 premium one. Okay, so I'll just drop that in the chat as well, or the exact one.
Yes, it's a premium one.
Premium one, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I think some basic reporting is available, but probably
Yes.
other premium features would need premium license, yeah.
Right. So we are challenging on that only. So like there are a lot of agents that are accessing the SharePoint resources, but we have failed to generate those audit logs.
Right, right. One thing I don't know, on top of my mind, it might not be a direct way to do it, but every conversation which an agent or a user does with Copilot Studio gets logged into some of the dataverse table. So
Right.
probably you might want to look at the dataverse table to see if the citation has, that SharePoint URL, which SharePoint URL it has and everything to build that kind of custom report.
Right, but it works. I think the solution you're talking about might be possible with if we are using Copilot, right? But let's say I
Studio.
have third-party agents like Lizer or
Correct.
agents that I'm using, but I'm not getting that data.
Right. Which has been accessed via Graph API or something outside
Graph
of the
API,
system.
yes, direct
Hmm.
Graph API access. Because at enterprise level, we are not allowing to use SharePoint APIs. We are just directly going through the Graph APIs only.
Right. So there is something called as accessing graph activity logs for the tenant monitoring. So I'll drop a link there. I have also not explored, to be very frank.
Okay.
But I think there was something which will tell you what all graph API activities had been done at the tenant level.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Swami, we have one more question from, uh, can we get ULS log as well for the online? Okay.
So I'm not sure about what ULS. It is
No,
something related to on-prem.
yeah, I can tell you because this is an
Okay.
old days. Yeah. So basically, the ULX log were our go-to logs for any events or any error which would happen in on premises. Okay. So what we had was we had an ULS log monitoring, not monitoring, but a reading tool which was given by Microsoft for on-premises, wherein the ULS log is a log file which gets generated for anything which is happening in SharePoint for an on-premises one. And that is where we, if you would have seen for online also, there is a correlation ID which gets generated. So what we do is, if any error occurs, if you have to basically filter and see what happened with that correlation ID, we were going to that ULS log. Uh, Answer the questions. No, for SharePoint Online, we don't have access to the ULS log. Only Microsoft has access to that ULS log. But if you really need something to be tracked, you can definitely share that correlation ID with Microsoft to get that, log being extracted and shared it. But that you have to go through the channel of, Microsoft support and everything. We as an admin also or a user also doesn't get access to any of the ULS log, because now the ULS log is stored somewhere in the cloud basically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions before we wind up? Okay. So thanks again, Swami, for this wonderful session. Yeah, this was, I mean, I can also personally say, because I also came to know about this a very late in, my whole career also, that, okay, there is something which is available like this. And that is what the, how deep the SharePoint is, right? We can figure that out, that though working for 15 years in SharePoint, we would have still not known all the features, all the capabilities which is available. And when the actual requirement comes, when we really deep dive into something, we would find something which is already there since long, but people are not, kind of using it. So a very, very useful session, and which came through as a customer requirement to find something out. And definitely, if like there would be situation like my question to Swami when I said that, do we have logs about, somebody changed the column or somebody added the column, is because yes, day before yesterday itself, for a customer where we built some automation, the automation started failing. And from our dev team side, we didn't change any schema or anything, but what we found out was some schema was being changed. Okay. Now, when we have to go
Mhm.
to the customer, we wanted to tell them, right, who changed it, right? And he is saying that, okay, I have not changed it. So I'm definitely going to look into the preview to see if they have the premium plan and see that who has changed the column setting. So what they did was very simple. They changed a column which was allowing a single value, which was allowing a multi-value selection to a single value selection. Okay, and because of that, in the Power Automate side, the way we are basically kind of creating the data has to be sent separately, and that is where the automation was failing. So this kind of features is really useful to find track who has done some activity at your SharePoint site level when something goes wrong, and you would be able to track that down. And then if there are certain things which can be rolled back, like for example moving of the files, then yes, definitely you can also kind of move back. Thanks again, Swami, and with that I think Divya has joined. Divya, have you joined?
Hi, Siddharth. I'm here. Yes, yes.
Yes, good morning. And
Good morning.
what I will do is I'll stop the recording and then we will start again. Thank you again, Divya, for